Hello, everybody. This is Bob Kingpin Harris with the very first show of Forex EA Report. And what does EA mean? Expert Advisor. That's what it means. And we're going to talk more about that. And you're probably going, well, Bob, what the heck is Forex? Well, we're going to find out a lot about Forex in the coming months, in the coming weeks, in the coming years. And, I'm so thrilled today that I do have my very first guest. Of course, I wouldn't have a show without a guest, would I? But I'm going to bring him on now. His name is Donald Marshall. He is the CEO. Hello, Donald. How are you?
How are you?
Good, good. He's the CEO of Diversified Ventures International, and he is a fund manager. And we're going to find out today what a fund manager does. And as I was talking to Don before he went on the air here, he also you're heavily into forex, from what I understand. What your funds are, what you work with, and well, if we're going to find out a little bit more, and we're going to find out everything that you do. So, Don, this is your show today.
All right.
I'm just here for the ride, but like anybody else, I have a lot of questions. So, what is a fund manager?
Well, a fund manager in Forex, typically, I don't know if it's typically, but how it has worked for me is you started maybe personally in Forex doing your own trading, and as maybe a year or so goes by, you end up learning, being successful. I went through CTA training, which is a commodity trading advisor, uh, registered with the CFTC and the FSA, things like that. And so through that process, you just become more of an expert in how Forex commodity, or excuse me, currency trading is done. In that process, you develop strategies and ways of trading that are successful or may be successful. And in that process, people start talking to you, your friends, family, whoever. What are you doing? How are you doing it? How well are you doing? And if you're able to make a good return, then people tend to be interested. And so a fund manager would be somebody who maybe started with their own personal funds, and then friends and family came in and said, "I'd like to be a part of this," and you started adding them kind of to the pool. So that's how
And,
it works.
and I know before we started today, you mentioned that you can't really advertise, and we're not advertising this today. What we're doing is coming uh, on this program as newsworthiness. And listen, you're not the only fund manager out there. I'm sure there are many others, and they're in the same boat as you. Correct? They can't really advertise.
Well, there's ones obviously that are larger. They produce, I would assume they have many investors and are all registered. We're just not part of that. It's just like I said, it's more of a friends and family type of deal, acquaintances, and if they understand the risk involved and they like what they see, then they're able to be involved. So
Okay.
that's how
Now,
it works.
all right. So tell me a little bit about. Now you're gonna have to tell me a lot about this because you work heavily, as we mentioned, in the forex market. And first of all, you want to explain to our viewers what the forex market really is and what you do in the forex market yourself.
Well, forex markets is what they call foreign exchange. It's where two currency pairs are placed against each other. For example, the euro dollar will be a currency pair that will be matched up, and based on the economies or where they feel the economy is going, the euro may go up against the dollar, or the euro may go down against the dollar. And so there's a lot of different currency pairs out there. You've got the yen dollar, the pound euro. And what it is, it matches two pairs against each other. And a trader like myself would say, I believe that the euro is going to go up against the dollar. I believe it's going to go down against the dollar, and we place orders depending on that. So different than the stock market, or at least part of the difference is we don't really care which direction it's going. We can make money whether it's going down, if the euro is going down against the dollar, or the euro is going up against the dollar. So either buying or selling.
Eh,
And whereas typically in the stock, typically you buy a stock and hope it goes up. Whereas in commodities, it can actually go down, and you can make very good money as it goes down also. So,
Now, you mentioned that it's either buy or sell, correct? And
correct.
what you're saying, it doesn't really matter. And does it really matter what the economy really is? Because right now with the stock market, it's been kind of crazy, right? I mean, it went down, my God, a couple thousand points it seemed like, right, recently.
Mhm.
And
Well,
that does
yeah,
does
it doesn't matter the economy as much as what they think the value of the currency is, and that depends on a lot on interest rates. Gosh, I mean, it could be anything that when the euro was battling with and trying to figure out what to do in Greece, that was a pretty big problem for the euro there. So the euro started going down based on the value of based on what was happening in Greece. So there's a lot of different variables. There are different news, consumer sentiment. It's a lot what drives maybe the the stock market. But it always surprises me. I don't think a lot of times you hear news, something comes out and it says this is what happened, and everything says that if this happens, then the dollar would go up or the dollar would go down. Well, sometimes completely the opposite happens, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's really um, a little more. Uh, it's hard to predict, I guess. It's what based on news or based on a lot of people will study the what they call technicals, where they're breaking into different areas of where the currency is moving in one direction or breaking a certain barrier, maybe a certain amount, like maybe at 1.3 might be a support or barrier or something. So whether they clear that area, are they going to make any money off of that? So it really is. I mean, what I base it on more is that there is no rhyme or reason to it. What we're looking for is the market to move in a general direction, to start trending. And so I just really kind of go with the trend is really how my trading goes. And I wait and decide when we wait and wait for those kind of moves to happen. So,
right. And we're not going to give away the trade secrets on that, Donald. But the thing is, as you say, you go with the trend. But I have a feeling that you probably do a bit of research.
right.
You're not going to this blind. You've been doing this for how long now?
Since about 2008, a
Yes.
little before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 7, or I should say 8, 9 years of doing this. You have a pretty good feel of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I know I know that you can say something like success rate, right? You might be able to, but that's not guaranteed. We're not saying
Right.
that. And remember, we're coming from this as newsworthiness. But how's your success been? I mean, you're a fund manager. You've been doing this for a long time. I take it this is how you make your living, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is it.
Well, it is right. Yes, it has been in the last year or so. When you get, we've had a few friends come into the picture and do some investing with us, and as a result, we have more funds that we're investing in, and that does, of course, make us a pretty good income. And but as far as success in this is you have orders that are placed, orders that you win on and orders that you lose on, and so what you want obviously is your winners to be a lot larger than your losers. So over the
Exactly.
course of a year, it is a profitable business. For example, this particular year has been a little slower, but it does produce a large amount. We're a little over at the end of last month. We were a little over 52% for the year. So
That's
we're
pretty good.
this month we're about at 5% this month. So it fluctuates, but it if you were to look at every order I placed in a month, you would see a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. The thing is, where does the end of the month look like? And that has been a positive when you get to the end of the month. or middle of the month or whatever, you can start working towards a positive. So I do a thing what's called trimming. You just take your losers and you start closing those down when your winners and you eventually end up in a profit. So it's it's been a learning curve the last 8 years, but it's been successful. So we're really not complaining.
Well, I know you can't advertise. I'm sorry about that. We're getting a little bit of feedback there, but not that much. I know you can't advertise, but can someone actually talk to you? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we're
like
not supposed to be standing on a street corner. We're not supposed to be putting things in papers. We can have a website, but it's really just word of mouth is really what we're talking about here, and that's really what people come into. And it's typically it could be a friend that we know, and so we've gotten to know them. But really, the key is that they understand what they're getting involved in. I mean, it's
right,
something that has high risk with it. I mean, I always like to tell people the risk is related to reward. I mean, if you put your money in a savings account right now, I mean, obviously your reward is pretty low, but your risk is probably fairly low also. But here, I mean, when you have a risk or a return of 52% at this point, obviously risk is directly related to that. So, this is something where if somebody comes to us and we know them and they understand what they're getting into, that's really the key. Um, this is somebody who comes to us and goes, yeah, I get it. This is a small percentage of what I have to invest, and I'm willing to put this percentage at risk. And typically, if you have, let's say you had $1 million of investment, it's recommended that maybe 10% of that is put into high risk investments. And this would be one of those areas that would be considered high risk.
okay, all right.
So
Uh, that's
that's,
pretty. I mean, the whole forex thing to me is an interesting thing because I know there's some people that are making money out there, right?
yeah.
And I'm definitely you with a 52% return are making money, and the folks that are in your funds are who have decided to invest with you are making money.
Yeah, it's been a process. I mean, every year, this is probably actually, believe it or not, one of our lower years because we've
Really?
just developed a little more conservative attitude this year to where we just don't want to push it in certain areas. We just have slowed down in certain areas of investing, but it's really been quite profitable through the years, and we're excited that it keeps going. And history is history, and the future is unknown. So
Right.
you can look at our history and you can say this is where we've been and this is how well we've done over these last few years. But you never know what's going to happen out there in this world, and it's always surprises me. Of course, I spend probably 95% of my time going through what if, and
Right.
that's really all I do is because we have a strategy, we place orders based on that strategy, but then based on current conditions in the market, what's happening in the news, what's going on out there, how do we respond to those type of things? So we're always in a protection mode. Okay, what if over the weekend the European Union comes out and says this? Well, then we need to protect against that. So we're really spending a lot of our time, almost all our time, in the what if scenario. So
Yeah, and that's part of that, and that's part of that research that I spoke about before. I mean, you're constantly watching these markets. Um, what you know, as let's say a new person getting into this, and that is a what if, right?
mm-hmm.
A new person getting into this, you know, do you think that they should look for professional experience like yourself?
Well, it is a hard kind of concept to understand. The when people start thinking, well, how am I making money if it goes down? Well, we're in a sell mode, and so I think the learning curve is pretty long on this one, and because one of the things that makes it's such a return on it is the leverage side of it. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble with leverage. And so, um, people tend to think, well, how about let's see if we can make 50% in a month? Well, you can do that, but your leveraged and risk is so high that you're probably going to blow your account up or something like that. So there's a learning curve that after doing this for so many years, maybe it seems natural to me, but to someone who's brand new in it, they may look at this and completely not understand why you would even place a trade there, why you might uh, hedge your account at this point. So yeah, there's different reasons why, and one of the main reasons may be you just don't have the time.
Right.
It's a lot of work, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of, like we just got discussing, a lot of what ifs going on out
Right.
there, and if you have a full time job, or even if you don't, and you're just starting this from scratch, it could be a challenge. So
Yeah, I could see that. Um, where where could somebody go to gather more information about Forex first of all,
mhm.
and then you know if they would like to reach out to you? I know that we said that they could reach out to you.
Right.
How would they do that?
Well, the best way is to just email me at dmarshall@dvimgt.com. It's like DVI management, dvimgd.com. And they can reach me that way, or they could give me a call, 480-779-7211. Either one of those is the best way to reach me. Then it just takes a process of, sitting down and really making them completely understand if it was something they wanted to do, at what extent would they be comfortable doing it. Um, the worst kind of situation for us is an investor who's not comfortable with it. If they're not sitting there going, this is an amount. This would like to say, is this an amount where if you lose it, um, your day-to-day life will not change? And if that's the case, then it's probably a safe amount. But if it's something to where you're investing money and you're like, this is all I got,
Right.
and if I lose this, this would be pretty devastating to me. That is not, we're not the people you want to talk to,
Eh,
you know. Um, but also the internet, of course, has got an extreme amount of information. I like Forex Army. There's different websites out there that will tutor you through how the basics of Forex works and what kind of currency pairs are out there. It's a tremendous information, and really, since it is really pretty much an internet-based trading, it is something that there obviously, because of that, there's a ton of information on the internet. You do have to be kind of careful, of course, where you get that information, but I
right.
think if you're thorough, you can figure it
Right. And as you said that in the beginning, you said that you're certified here in the states, and of course, the show goes all over the world. There are what I've seen, and I've done a little bit of research myself. Right,
out.
is that a lot of these brokers are not within the United States,
Right.
and could there be complications by using one of these companies if you're a U.S. citizen?
Well, there honestly, we have brokerage houses overseas that we work with,
Hmm.
and the reason why we work overseas is because the United States has put, and because we're under a certain amount of investors, we have to stay under 15 investors.
Okay.
Um, that since we're under that level, we're allowed to go overseas. We're allowed to work with brokerage houses over there. And there is some things that happened during the financial crisis through the Dodd-Frank bill that was very needed, but also there were some things that were done to the Forex market that were very hurtful to not only um, myself, but to the average investor. Really, when you think of something that was put into place to protect investors, there were some things that were stuck in there that really hurt the average investor. And so, going overseas, one of the good examples is they do not allow hedging in the Forex market in the United States. We're the only country in the world that does not allow that. Hedging is a very, very, very protective thing for your investors. And as you can imagine, it's a hedge. If the market starts going in the wrong direction, you want to be able to place in a hedge to protect you from losing any more money. And so they eliminated that. And that's something that only an international broker can offer. Now, because of a lot of things that I don't want to get into, there's too hard to understand, and
Right.
some of the regulations and different things. But there are only certain brokerage houses that want to go through, quote unquote, the trouble of dealing with Americans. There's a lot of regulations, a lot of pushback they get from the U.S. government because the government wants to keep everything over here in the United States. And it doesn't make any difference to the government. I mean, you're going to pay your taxes no matter what. You're a U.S. citizen, but the point is, they allow certain things that protect the investor, and that's what we utilize them for. And there's a few companies, and I think you contacted one of them, and they're a great organization that we utilize. So.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been very, very interesting, and I've enjoyed you coming on here with me today and explain a little bit about what you do. And before I let you go, and I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to tell you to stick around for a bit though first.
Okay.
But again, how can somebody who's interested in this market, as you as a fund manager and so forth, get in touch with you if they have some questions?
I guess they can reach me at dmarshall@dvimgt.com. That's DVI Management, short for management. And then my phone number is 480-779-7211.
Well, great. Again, I appreciate you coming on here with me today. What I'm going to do is play a little music, but I want you to stick around if you would, please.
Okay.
All right, everybody. This has been the very first episode, if you want to call that, but it's the very first interview, and it's with Donald Marshall, the CEO of Diversified Ventures International. It's been pretty interesting. I think you'll find it that way, and you're going to see it up on the website here in about 2 seconds, I think. Well, maybe more than 2 seconds, but remember, this was recorded live, right, Donald?
It is correct.
We recorded it live. There are no cuts in this at all. So
That's correct.
stick around and stick around with me, Donald. I'll be back with you in just a second. For everybody out there, this is Bob King Paneras. Stay safe, everybody.